New addition to the team at SkyWatch TV. Welcome to a special edition of SkyWatch TV for Wednesday, April 6th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. Joining me in studio, a gentleman who will soon be making his home here in the Ozarks and the co-author of the forthcoming book, The Final Roman Emperor, the Islamic Antichrist, and the Vatican's Last Crusade, Cris Putnam. Cris, welcome.
Derek. Hey, it's great to be on the team.
It is. The role that you're going to take on here at SkyWatch TV, it's still kind of being developed. Is that an accurate way of describing it?
Well, yeah, I think the primary role is Tom wants to start a new TV show about the supernatural worldview, which is the title of my book. And
right.
We're going to take a look at the paranormal, the supernatural, from a Christian perspective.
So the things that many churches don't address, questions that people have about the unexplained, ghosts, demons, unidentified flying objects, things like that.
That's exactly right, and all those topics are covered in my book. But there's kind of a gap, especially in the media. There's so many paranormal programs now about ghosts, and they've turned mediums into heroes. Let's help the departed reach the other side, and all this sort of thing. So I think that there's a need for a Christian answer to some of this stuff that's a little more nuanced perhaps than everything's a demon, and okay. I would like to look at it and try to take a fair, intellectually honest look at what's going on.
So kind of covering that middle ground, whereas some of the secular programs that deal with these issues, well, not really secular, they're really more occult than anything, that acknowledge that these things exist but give an accurate inaccurate description or explanation for those things. And then on the other side, you've got those Christian ministries, teachers, churches that do address those. Sort of just have a very simple, it's all demonic explanation.
Right, and I found that to be an oversimplification often. I mean, I think that there is a middle ground somewhere. Sometimes we don't know, and I think that's a good answer sometimes because we don't. And I'm not going to pretend to know something I don't, but I think that there's room for an analysis of some of this thing from a different perspective that's just not being offered out there.
Well, that's one of the things I really appreciated about your book was that you took an honest look at things that can't be explained naturally. The one example that comes to mind was the woman who had the near-death experience and reported seeing a shoe on the ledge of a hospital window that was not where she could possibly have seen it,
right?
Even if she'd been conscious, which she was not when she was brought into the hospital. So how do you explain that and do it from a Christian perspective? Do we just deny that these things exist altogether? Do we throw out the baby with the bathwater? Perhaps another example are some of the accounts of near-death experiences in general.
Right.
Let's say, just taking those as one particular topic. How do we, as Christians, process the whole concept of the near-death experience?
Well, that was one of the main topics that I focused on because I think it really does authenticate the Christian worldview in a lot of ways. We call it the veridical near-death experience, meaning there's some parts of the near-death experience that you can verify,
right?
And there's other parts you can't. So, and I really learned this from Dr. Gary Habermas, who's in the PhD program at Liberty University, and he's written a book about near-death experiences, but he actually verified the one that you're talking about. Her name was Maria, in Washington State. I believe she had a cardiac arrest. They wheeled her into the emergency room. She was dead, clinically dead. They revived her, and she described seeing a shoe on the ledge of the hospital. He actually called the social worker who interviewed Maria and verified that happened. She's the one that found the shoe. So, this is the type of evidence that you are not just a material being. You're not, a biological robot. That, this is what the reductionist scientific worldview would say that we are. But there is an immaterial you that exists apart from your body, apparently. This shows that. I mean, it demonstrates that she was able to see without eyes.
Yeah. And hear without ears, was able to report on things that the doctor said in the operating theater. And that's really remarkable. If you can get people, to move off of that, then we are more than just we meet computers.
Right.
As some of the
It's a defeater for naturalism, is what it is.
And then, of course, we have to fit that into a biblical context, and that's what the supernatural worldview will will aim to do. Shifting gears, let's talk about the forthcoming book that you and Tom have put together, The Final Roman Emperor, the Islamic Antichrist, and the Vatican's Last Crusade. The Islamic State has dominated the news for the last 18 months, almost 2 years, ever since they declared the caliphate in June of 2014. They believe they are working toward a day when the Mahdi will lead them to victory in a climactic battle against the forces of Rome. How do you approach the topic in the book, knowing that we're not going to do more than even scratch the surface here in the span of 5 minutes or so? But how do you address the topic, and what sort of information, or how do you process what they're trying to do versus what we read about in Bible prophecy?
Well, I've tried to give a unique perspective on this subject. There's a lot of good books about the Islamic State out by scholars who have studied Islam in a lot more detail than I have, and they're great books. But they don't look at this really from the prophetic type of perspective that we're taking. And I call it a long play perspective in the book. And really my angle is the supernatural worldview. We're trying to look at this not, what does the Islamic State want? What do those individuals, those human beings want? But perhaps there's powers and principalities behind them that have another agenda. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. And, I'm looking at this from a perspective over the last century, or the last several centuries, and trying to see where's this all heading. What could their piece of the puzzle be leading to? And I really do see it all. Globalism being the overarching idea, this idea of a new world order, and the Islamic State is the perfect antithesis to Western values, and I think it really does push us for a need for safety, fear from terrorism, pushes us toward control, new world order, that type of thing.
Well, we're dealing with principalities and powers, as the Apostle Paul wrote. It's not human opponents that we're wrestling against, and clearly, if these things have been around for, just to pick a number, say 6,000 years, they are a little more patient than we humans tend to be. How do you think we Americans tend to have a very short view of history? I mean, for us, you look at a house built prior to World War II, and that's old, man.
Right.
Well, my ancestors in Germany, who lived in a house that was, let's see, they left the area around Stuttgart in 1805, and by the time they left in 1805, the house that they were living in was already 450 some odd years old. So, there's a whole different time scale when you're dealing with the old world, and of course, when you get back to the ancient world, the Middle East, and so, we're dealing with a much longer time scale. How do you think we as Americans are crippled in our ability to analyze these sort of supernatural long games because of our tendency to view everything in very short windows of time?
Yeah, we're a relatively young country, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we really are. And, it's even worse than that, I'm afraid, nowadays, because of all the media and television and all the things.
The 24-hour news cycle.
Our generation probably was the first one to get bombarded with it, but we just have really short attention spans.
Yeah.
And people aren't aware of history as much as they used to be, it doesn't seem like. And so a lot of things seem to be repeating themselves that it seems like we ought to know better sometimes, and we don't,
Yeah.
And so it is interesting. I think really it's the mass media culture and everything else is kind of perhaps dumbed us down a little bit. We have access to information we never had before, but in a general way, I don't see that being all that helpful.
In fact, I feel like I read an article about that just recently, that there are some experts now who estimate that over the last century or so, we Americans have lost an estimated 20 IQ points on average off of where we used to be, because we no longer need to develop critical thinking skills. Whenever we need to know something, we can look it up on the internet. So we don't actually develop critical thinking skills anymore as much as we sort of bolt onto our exteriors little bits of knowledge that we glean from other sources. We don't really think things through and reason the way our forefathers did. We just have the appearance of knowledge without possessing the substance thereof.
Well, I think some of the rhetoric in the presidential debates that's going right now would verify that fact.
Yeah. Well, Cris, we're looking forward to helping you hone our critical thinking skills in terms of apologetics and taking the message to the world that the supernatural world is real. In fact, that is the real world, and this natural world in which we operate is the temporary one.
I would say so. It's kind of an illusion, actually.
Yes, it is. Well, coming up on SkyWatch TV this week, the program is an excellent discussion with Sheila Zielinski, who is the author of an important book called Green Gospel, The New World Religion. She writes about how the environmental movement is actually a move back to Babel. It is the work of the globalists trying to bring us back under a one-world government. You'll have an opportunity to see that program this afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Central Time on the Cornerstone Network. And if you miss it, you'll see it again Saturday twice, once on the Victory Television Network down in Arkansas and around Memphis, and coast to coast on the Christian Television Network. And a complete listing of times and stations is available online at SkyWatchTV.com. Look in the top menu bar there where it says channel listing. We appreciate your support, and we depend on it to get the word out through these channels. Your thank you from SkyWatch TV for your donation of $20 or more during the month of April is this beautiful Amazing Grace glass block paperweight. In addition to that, you will also receive the Ahriman Gate audiobook, which was narrated by a guy named Derek Gilbert back when he had a voice. That's our thank you to you for your support of $20 or more during the month of April. And to donate, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. Of course, you can also help us for free. Your mouse click to share, subscribe, and like at Facebook, Twitter, and of course the official SkyWatch TV YouTube channel is extremely helpful. And you can find my stuff online as well if you care to look. My email address for your comments, questions, and suggestions, dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. And thank you for watching. As we keep watch, I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. Most American families are just 72 hours away from disaster. Here at SkyWatch TV, we hope we can help avoid that.
I have been given permission to tell about this massive deal. There's one packet where you get one of each of these, breakfast and entree buckets, and again, 25 years shelf life. With that, you will get 15 of these Wise Fire packets. You'll get one of this water bottle. It will filter 99.9% of the impurities out of your water. Also, you will get for free this awesome auto kit.
Now, there's another package.
There are two more packages. The second package, you get 3 of each bucket. You pay for those, and you get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, and you get 2 of these bottles. There's a third deal. You won't believe this one. You get 6 of each of these. You get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, you get 2 bottles. Guess what else? You get the Mac Daddy.
Ooh.
50-gallon water storage container. If the electric grid goes down, one of these is going to come very handy.
3 packages for preparedness. One that feeds a family of 6 for a month. One that feeds a family of 6 for 3 months. And one that feeds a family of 6 for half a year, and of course that includes the 50-gallon water tank. You'll find all of those deals online, the Wise Food Preparedness Specials at skywatchtvstore.com.